Good morning, everyone. Here's a handout for today, and if anyone doesn't have the text of the Moreh, I just made just 3 or 4 copies. As I had mentioned before, if you're a regular in the shir, you should have already ordered the actual text itself. As we said, it's the Pines edition of Moreh Nevukhim from the University of Chicago. Okay. We have a very short chapter today, but just some housekeeping very briefly. Next week, I understand, is a statutory holiday in Canada, so therefore we will take a break for next week, and then I'm going to be out of town for a little while. So our next year will not be until the beginning of September. Since September 2nd is Labor Day, so it'll be probably September 9th will be when we resume. So we have a little bit over a month break right now after today's shir. So we'll finish it with an interesting chapter. This chapter is very short, chapter 14, and it's all about the word Adam, or Adam. Okay? Now, I want us to remember where we left off last week. We were talking about the verb la'amod, to stand. And if you remember, the very last thing that the Rambam told us in the previous chapter was when God said to Moses, Va'ata po amod imadi. Now Moses, stand here next to me. That can't be referring to a spatial standing next to God. So therefore the Rambam concluded that amod in that pasuk means allow your intellect to bond with me. So when you're standing, you're rising to a spiritual occasion or a spiritual height. And the function of prophecy is to allow your intellect to bond with the source of life, with Hashem. And that is the key to immortality. That is what gives rise to human immortality. And that's essentially the way the Rambam understood Ve'ata po amodi madi. All right? And it was, so therefore, the objective in the Rambam saying that was not only to remove any anthropomorphic quality from God, any physical, spatial quality from God, but it's also, as an incidentally, to also demonstrate how the human being has the capacity to rise to his full purpose by bonding intellectually with the divine intellect. Now, if that's the case, many of the Meforshim say that that's our sense of continuity with the following chapter. The chapter is all about Adam, all about the human being. Now, let's see, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. First, I want to look at the text because it's a very brief text. The equivocality of the word Adam, which means that Adam means different things in different contexts. Firstly, he says it is the name of Adam, the first man, and is a derivative word. For, as the biblical text states, it is derived from the word Adama. So the first thing he tells us is that the name Adam is used to describe a specific human being, the very first human being, Adam Harishon. Why was he called Adam Harishon? Because he was extracted from the Adama, from the soil. That's why he's called Adam. I want to get back to that shortly. It is also the term designating the species. It also refers to human beings in general. Thus, my spirit shall not abide in man. So where do we see that? That's in source number 3. Hashem says, Vayomer Hashem lo yadon ruchi va'adam le'olam. My spirit, this is before the flood, where God says, man is but flesh, and therefore my spirit will no longer reside in Adam. And therefore he will only live for another 120 years, and then I shall bring the flood. Okay? Who knows the spirit of the sons of man? Okay, so therefore this is a pasuk in Koheles. Mi yodea ruach b'nei Adam ha'olah hi lemala v'ruach ha'behema hayaredet hi lamata la'aretz. Who knows about the spirit of man, which will eventually, the soul of man, which will eventually rise up, and the soul of the beast. Another pasuk in Koheles. Ki mikre v'nei ha'adam u'mikre ha'behema u'mikre echad lahem. That what will happen to the sons of Adam and the sons of the animals, or animals rather, they will meet the same end. Kemod zeh, kein mod zeh, that just like animals die, human beings will die. And therefore there is no kimosar umotar ha'adamin habehema ayin ki hakol havel, that there is no advantage that man has over beast because all is vanity. Okay, so this is a description of Adam in general. Notice how he's quoted two psukim from Kohelet out of order, because the previous pasuk that he quoted from Kohelet was from the 6th chapter. This pasuk, was from pasuk 21 in the 3rd chapter, and this pasuk he quotes from the 3rd chapter also, but it's 2 verses before. Perhaps he wanted to point out that in the previous pasuk, which appears later, there is a distinction that is drawn between Adam and Behema, that Adam's soul rises up and Behema's soul falls down after death. But ultimately, says King Solomon, they are the same. So perhaps we want to focus on the differentiation first between human being and beast, and then we can talk about that they meet the same fate. Let us continue. It is also a term designating the multitude. I mean the generality. What does the word generality mean? It means the average man. In other words, it's not just referring to human beings in general, but if you wanted to distinguish between really special people and regular people, then you would talk about regular people as being Adam, okay? As distinguished from the elite. Thus, and so therefore what's our pasuk? It says in Tehillim, Gam b'nei Adam, Gam b'nei Ish, Yachad Ashir ve'evyon. This is a pasuk in Tehillim, which says that when we put together B'nei Adam and B'nei Ish, so Ish is a more distinguished term for the human condition, for the human being. And B'nei Adam is just like a regular Joe, okay? Sorry if anyone's name is Joe, no offense. Okay. This third meaning is to be found in the following verses. And then the Rambam ends off the chapter by saying, you can also apply it to these two psukim as well. The sons of Elohim saw the daughters of man. Where is this pasuk? This appears at the very end of Parshat Bereshit, Genesis chapter 6. The Torah says, "Vayiki echel ha'adam larov al pnei ha'adama," that when the Adam people began to multiply over the face of the earth, uvanot yuludu lahem, and they gave birth to daughters. Vayiru v'nei ha'elohim et benot ha'adam ki tavotena, that the sons of Elohim saw the daughters of Adam and saw that they were good. Vayikchu lahem nashim mikol asher bacharu, and therefore they took for themselves wives from whomever they chose. Now, we're going to get back to this in a moment, and then finally he brings another pasuk from Tehillim, which we say rather regularly. Tomorrow we'll say it in the Shir Shel Yom. Achein ke'adam tumutun ucha'achad hasarim tipolu. You shall die like Adam, and like one of the officers you shall fall, which means that don't think that you are so great, O you corrupt judges, which is really the context of this pasuk in Tehillim. You shall die like men. Don't think that you will be immortal just because you have power today. You will eventually die as men. So a number of things that that's the end of the chapter, a number of things that I hope time will permit us to discuss today. The first thing that I wanted to discuss is the point that the Rambam makes when he says that the word Adam is a description for the very first man, who was so called because he was derived from the Adama, from the earth. Now, there's a very interesting idea here, because how do you say earth in Hebrew? Eretz or Adama. You can use both words. What is the difference between the two words, Eretz and Adama? Can anyone tell me?
Adama is more soil.
Adama is soil, and Eretz is land generically. Okay, that would be one explanation. I wanted to just draw your attention to a commentary from Rav Mecklenburg in the Hakatav v'Hakabbalah from the 19th century. He uses linguistic sources to tell us that many times the word Adama is used for soil in Chutz La'aretz, outside the land of Israel, and Eretz is used to describe the land of Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Zavat Chalav U'Devash. Ki Haaretz, like the land you were coming to. Okay, and Adama is used generically for all land, but because it's more generic, it describes land in general, even outside of Eretz Yisrael. Etymologically, what is the difference between Adama and Eretz? They are almost opposites when you think of the etymology between the two. Adama comes from the word dome, which means to be still and to be inert, to be still, to be silent. And Eretz comes from the word ratz, which means to run forward. Why is the earth described in almost two opposite terminologies, which is one to be still and silent, and the other one is to run forward? It's almost a contradiction in terms. So Rav Mecklenburg says that the word Adama is a reference to soil which is inert, but it produces, in other words, it gives rise, it is the environment for growing things to grow. But it itself is really just a supplement or an auxiliary or a catalyst to the growth of things that come out of it. The soil itself does not grow. The soil itself is passive and receives the seed, but it itself only gives rise to things to grow, but it itself does not grow. Eretz describes the process whereby the soil gives life to things. So it runs forward and it produces. Both terminologies are accurate, but it depends on the context in which you're describing it. And therefore, Rav Mecklenburg says Adama is more appropriate for chutz la'aretz, for a human being, a Jew living in chutz la'aretz, because you have fewer mitzvot to perform. You have to be by necessity more passive because the mitzvot are not as practicable in chutz la'aretz as they are in Eretz Yisrael. And Eretz is the land that produces not only produce, but also produces mitzvahs, because there are so many more mitzvot that you can perform in Eretz Yisrael. But for our purposes, I want to just point out something important. The reason why the term Adam was given to original man, not only because he was created from the actual soil itself, and it's also given to a regular human being, not a higher level human being, but a regular human being, because the whole idea of Adam is that you are tabula rasa, you are a blank slate, and you can only have life if you bond with a neshama. So the Adama is descriptive of the physical component of the human body that must receive the seed, so that, as it were, the planting, the implantation of the soul from Hashem. And if that's the case, then the term Adam, as he's using it here, is very consistent with the way we explained last week the sense of continuity to our last chapter. Our last chapter talked about Ve'ata po amodi madi. Moshe, you stand here with me, because what is your function as a human being? To bond with the divine intellect, the source of life, and to gain immortality. In other words, when you are disconnected from Hashem on the intellectual level, which is related to the soul, so then you remain as Adama. But because you are like soil, and the way that you produce life is by bonding with the source of life to have that implantation of divine intellect, that's why there's a continuity between the previous discussion and the term Adam. Because Adam is descriptive of the human condition that can only be productive if it is implanted with that divine spirit. And that's the sense of connection between the previous chapter. Let me just also point out that there's another very important reason why the Rambam brings this chapter in, which is not as easy to see as the other chapters. All along we've been saying that the Rambam's project at the beginning of Moreh Nevukhim is to distance corporeality and physicality from Hashem. Any term that we discover that implies any kind of spatial or physical designation to Hashem must be re-explained, retranslated. Well, the term Adam is not a term that describes God, but we do find the term Adam as being compared to God, and that's dangerous as well, because in what sense is man similar to God? And those are the last two psukim of this very short chapter, where the Rambam wants to point out that the term Adam is sometimes used in the context of saying, You are Elohim, or you are like Elohim. Ani amarti Elohim atem uvnei elyon kulachem. Look, if you take a look back in source number 8, Tehillim, Psalms chapter 82, Perak Pei Beis. What is the whole psalm about? It's a very short psalm. Elokim nitzav ba'adat kel, bekerev Elohim yishpot. God stands in the congregation of the Lord, and he sits among judges who judge. Ad matai tishpetu avel ufnei rishaim tis'u sela. For how long are you going to judge perversely or in a corrupt fashion, and you're going to show favor to the wicked? Shiftu dal viatom, ani varash hatzdiku. Judge righteously and treat the widow and the orphan fairly, etc., etc. And then we go to Pasuk Vav. Ani amarti Elohim atem uvnei elyon kulachem. I said that you were Elohim. Now Elohim is one of the names of God, Elohim. But it's used with the lowercase aleph, so to speak, when we wanted to describe lofty human beings. When we wanted to describe people who are in positions of authority and who represent the law, we call them Elohim, the judges. Okay? Achein ke Adam tumutun, but you will die like Adam. So you see the contrast between Adam and Elohim. It's very important for the Rambam to point out that we should not in any way anthropomorphize God by suggesting that God is in any way resemblant to the human being, even though that is what the psukim seem to be saying. And that's why the previous pasuk, which even suggests it even more, is Vayiru b'nei ha'Elohim et benot ha'adam ki tavotena. The sons of Elohim saw the daughters of man, daughters of Adam, that they were good. So you see, if Elohim is going to be translated as the divine in this pasuk, you see something very dangerous taking place, which is that celestial divine beings are melding with human beings. Now that's not the way the Rambam understands the pasuk, but it is important for you to know that there is a Kabbalistic tradition, that what is going on over here in this pasuk, which goes back, by the way, it's an ancient Kabbalistic tradition, a mystical tradition which goes back to the Apocrypha, to the book of Chanoch, the book of Enoch. And we're not going to get into that today, but there is such a legend that who were these B'nai HaElokim? They were actually angels that were implanted into physical bodies. They were sent down to this world in order to demonstrate that even though the angels were contemptuous of mankind, God says you have no right to have contempt for them because you've never experienced what it means to be housed in a physical shell. And God therefore takes these angelic beings, implants them into physical bodies, and then they have the human experience of being overcome with physical temptation and so forth. And therefore, they see the Benot HaAdam, they mate with them, and they produce the Nephilim, which is what the Torah says that they produce, the Nephilim. Now, Nephilim are translated as giants. But what does Nephilim also mean? It means to have a fall. So these are fallen angels. That's one of the ways of explaining it, which is, okay, we're not going to go into the Christian undertones of that statement. But the Rambam does not understand this pasuk this way. The Rambam understands that the pasuk is referring to very, very chashuva people, very important people. Now, you know that there's a controversy among the commentaries. When we have a listing of all of the people who lived inordinately long lives that are listed at the end of Parshat Bereshit, there's a controversy among the classic medieval commentaries. Did everyone live inordinately long lives back in the day before the flood? Or were these people mentioned exceptional human beings? Really, most people lived regular lifespans. These people, because they had some kind of divine or elite spark within them, lived inordinately long lives. One of the ways of learning it is like that. And therefore, who are these B'nai HaElohim? They are these exceptional human beings who live hundreds and hundreds of years, and normally they had stayed within their own clan, that a male exceptional elite being would marry a female exceptional being. But for whatever reason, they saw the Benot HaAdam, they saw the lower level of human being, the ones who were living average lifespans. They mated together with them, and they produced Nephilim. beings who fell from that original divine stature or elite stature of being exceptional. Now, this too, again, is sort of indicative of the fact that we have to be very careful when we use the term Adam, because we have to make sure that we don't confuse it with a divine terminology. And that's one of the reasons why this chapter is here. The last thing that I want to discuss with you today is an interesting piece of Gemara in source number 9, Tractate Avodah Zarah, page 3a, source number 9. Take a look. Tanya, Haya Rebbe Meir Omer. Rebbe Meir used to say, Minayin sha'afilu oved kochavim ve'osek b'Torah shehu kohen gadol. How do you know that even a heathen who studies Torah has the same importance or elite status as the high priest? Talmud Omar asher ya'aseh otam ha'adam v'chai bahem. Because the Torah gives praise to any person who engages in the mitzvot. And it says anyone by the term ha'adam, the man. It doesn't say Kohanim, Levim, v'Yisraelim lo nemar ela ha'adam. It doesn't say Kohen, Levi, or Yisrael who engage in the mitzvot, but rather any human being. And what do you see from there? Halamadata, sha'afilu oved kochavim ve'osek b'Torah, harehu kekohen gadol. That anyone who engages in the Torah, you don't have to be even a Jew to engage in the Torah and become very, very special. You can be like the high priest, no matter what your lineage is. And therefore, what does the term ha'adam refer to? It refers to humankind. Very consistent with what the Rambam has written. But now take a look at a commentary of Tosfos on that Gemara. So Tosfos writes, Mashma hacha da'ovdei kochavim nami kruyin adam. It seems from here that all humanity, including non-Jews, are called Adam. Vitema, this seems to contradict the following. Daha'amar ba'alma, we know that there's a Gemara in Bava Metzia, De'ein kivrei ovdei kochavim mitami'im ba'ohel, that the graves of non-Jews do not transmit the same type of ritual tuma, impurity, as Jewish graves. Mishum dichtiv Adam ki yamut ba'ohel. Atem kruyim Adam, dichtiv va'atein soni tzon mariti Adam, atem kruyim Adam, v'lo avdei kol chavim kruyim Adam. So the Gemara over there says that only Jews are called Adam. Gentiles are not called Adam. So how do you reconcile this? How do you reconcile this? In other words, Tosfos says, here in the Gemara in Avodah Zarah, the word ha'adam refers to all human beings, including Jews and non-Jews. And the Gemara in Bava Metzia seems to say that the word Adam only is referencing Jews and not non-Jews. So how do you reconcile that? V'omer Rabbeinu Tam, diyesh lechalek bein Adam leha-Adam. There's a difference between Adam and the Adam. Adam means just Jews. Ha-Adam means all of humankind. Why in the world does that difference exist? Take a look at the Zohar from Parshat Pinchas. Parshat Noach, Zohar from Parshat Noach, Daf Samach Amid Bet, source number 11. Rabbi Abba Omar, Miyoma di Avar Adam al Pikuda de Moreh. So Rabbi Abba says from the day that Adam violated his command of not eating from the tree, Kol b'nei alma di ityalidu lebatar akrun b'nei ha'adam. All human beings were called the son of ha'adam, the original man. But this is not a term of endearment. V'lo lishvacha akrun hachi, ela keman da'omar b'noye dehahu da'avar al pekuda de Moreh. But rather it's like saying, oh, you're an Adamite? Oh, you're the descendant of that guy who violated his master's command, who violated God's command. So ha'adam is not complimentary, it's not flattering, because it harkens back to Adam's original sin. However, Adam, without the hay, is not harkening back to the original Adam, but is harkening back to humanity in general. And like the Rambam said, it depends on the context to determine whether it's a reference to human beings in general or it's a contrast between exceptional human beings and regular human beings. And the last thing I'll show you is from Sefer Torat Chaim, from Rav Avraham Chaim Shor, who lived in the late 16th, early 17th century. And he writes, I'm sorry about the poor font, it was the best text that I could get. He says, Diyesh lechalek bein adam leha-adam. The ha-adam behei ha-yedi'ah. He says, Adam with the hey, with the definitive article hey, mashma da'iri bimin ben adam ha-yedu'ah. It is referring to a known type of human being. V'nir'ah le'in yano kemo bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz behei ha-yedi'ah. So he says that to explain it, we take as an example when God created the heavens and the earth, using the same hey ha-yedi'ah, the definite article. Mishum dekai hashamayim va'aretz sha'anachnu ro'im be'einenu. Why is it the heavens and the earth? Because it's the heavens and earth that you and I experience and see all the time. Ulakach ha'adam goy nami b'mashma, de goy nami min adamhu. And therefore, when we think of human beings, we think of all humanity. All human beings that we experience in our purview are called ha'adam, the man that we are familiar with, the man on the street. Aval adam below hey, but when you have adam without the letter hey, remez la'adam ha'elyon. It's a reference to the upper lofty man, meaning that which is latent within the humanity, which we don't see overtly. Lekach ein ha'umot kriyin adam. And therefore the other nations are not called Adam, the Adam that we don't see, the invisible Adam, which is part of the spiritual component of man. It's almost like when a human being has that seed of divinity implanted within him, within his Adama of humanity, you don't see that intellectual or spiritual implantation that is in the soil. You don't see it because the soil is beneath the soil. The seed is beneath the soil, right? That's the Adam. That's the description of the soil that has been implanted with something truly fertile, the soul. So therefore, v'hainu hadichtiv atem adam atem krim adam al shmo yitbarach ki atem amo v'nachalato v'lo ha'umot. And only therefore the Jewish people who have that special divine implantation by birth are given the term Adam, but all of humanity is Ha-Adam, the known man, the overt man that everyone can see. Okay, I thought that was an interesting supplement to our discussion today, but finally we've sort of, just to conclude, we've seen two reasons why the Rambam feels that this is a relevant discussion specifically here. Either to remind us that the term Adam is a reference to man being like soil who needs to receive divine implantation, and number two, because many times the verses in Tanakh seem to create a commingling between a divine terminology and a human terminology, and we need to make sure that we understand the difference between the two. Please forgive me, I have to run, so I'm going to stop it here for today.